Hey everybody, I'm Jacob and that's Scout. We're out on a camping trip right now and we wanted to do a rig walk around on my 2005 Lexus GX470. Again, we're camping, so mind the mess, but we're gonna go ahead and go front to back and then top to inside. All right, let's get started with the front of this thing. So starting right up front, we have the Coastal Off-Road high clearance front bumper. We have some Flex Air 4s sitting on top of this bumper and some Flex Air 3s sitting inside of the bumper. I decided to go with this bumper just because it's one of the highest clearance on the market and it's personally one of my favorite. And overall, I just love Coastal Off-Road styling. It's very similar front sliders to rear, and that is, I don't know, it's kind of an aesthetic thing, but I really do enjoy that they kind of look like they belong together, so that's why I went with that. Warren, obviously there's no substitute for that, and then KC, that makes sense, right? And the headlights, we actually have some custom retrofit headlights from a company called Freedom Outfitters. Unfortunately, they just closed, like, it was probably 3 weeks ago from filming this, so super unfortunate, but these headlights are really, really neat. They had their retrofit projector, their custom retrofit projector right here, ironically called the Titan, with some halos on it as well. And then they snuck in a Flex Air 3 as the high beam. I know technically that's not road legal, but where I live out in the sticks, it does come in handy since no one's ever on the road and we don't have street lights, but these things are sweet. Obviously, this whole truck is wrapped. I guess I could start there too. This whole truck is wrapped. It's wrapped in a Miami blue for my friends over at Apache Armor in Prescott, Arizona. It's an ultra high gloss Miami blue wrap from a company called Flect, F-L-E-C-T, and it's actually wrapped over it with a satin PPF. So it has a really strange look to it. When it's clean and it's sunny, it has like this, it looks glossy, but you can still see all the body lines from the satin, which is kind of one of the benefits of satin. So that's the wrap. All right, moving our way to the first wheel. Look at this. We have the Nomad, the 501 Convoys, wrapped with some Canati Commander RTXs. So far, I've been a pretty big fan of the wheel. They haven't gotten me stuck yet. We actually were wheeling yesterday with a 4Runner, and this thing walked right through everything, and that 4Runner actually struggled a little bit. Had to use the locker. So, yeah, these wheels are pretty good. Right now, they're aired down to 20 PSI for this trail, and the Nomads were white before we hit all of this silt beds. You should see the other truck over here. All right, let's talk about, oh, also, sorry, these are 35s. These are 35 by, I think, 12 and a half, wrapped around the 17-inch Nomads. Okay, for suspension, we have the Dobinson's billet upper control arms. These are really, really neat because they have some extra caster control, which is how I was able to get these to fit originally. And then we have the Dobinson's MRR suspension all the way around. That's the remote or adjustable remote reservoir suspension, obviously with their springs, and they're all rated for the weight of the vehicle. Up front, we also have Dobinson's hydraulic bump stops. So the front up here feels pretty cushy, even on some of the rowdier trails we've been doing. So, all right, so that's the front suspension. Let's start making our way back. We're gonna talk about the roof and the roof rack, the new Platform 1, afterwards. Let's get all the stuff down here done first, and then we'll move our way to the top. So moving our way to the side, we have these sliders, again, from Coastal Off-Road. Coastal Off-Road, if you don't know, is a DIY weld-together kit, so they don't actually sell any finished product. They only sell, obviously, pieces of metal that you weld together. I really actually like that because if you want to do something custom to a pre-built bumper, you're going to have some trouble. But with a bumper that you're welding on, you can weld light tabs, you can do whatever you want. So with this, I was able to put a very, very small little angle in it just so it's tucked up a little bit higher. And it's barely clearance in the door, and it looks amazing. I'm just super stoked on it. But those are the things you're able to do when you do a custom a weld-together kit. You could just do whatever you want. So everything front and rear on the Coastal stuff is painted with alloy armor. It's fading a little bit right here, but I didn't sandblast this. I didn't do the best priming job on this, but it's neat because alloy armor is pretty inexpensive, and so I can touch this up really whenever I want. I still have like 2 cans of it. So overall, I'm actually pretty impressed with the alloy armor and very impressed with the Coastal Off-Road stuff. This bracketry actually mounts like an L on the bottom of the chassis as well. Most of the sliders I've seen for the GXs only mount to the front face, and even though it's a weld-together kit, it's a bolt-on kit, which has been proven to be a little bit stronger across the board. So I'm just pretty stoked on the coastal off-road stuff, especially the sliders. All right, let's move over to the back. So in the rear, believe it or not, we are running the same tire setup as the front. But suspension-wise, again, all four corners are going to be Dobinson's MRR suspension. So I obviously have that in the rear. We did custom mount the reservoirs, and by doing so, we mounted it in a way that I rub off the sticker every single time this thing articulates, which is a huge bummer. I should have thought about that, but originally these actually mount more behind the rear bumper. And I wanted to see the reservoir. Dobinson's is great. Their stuff is really, really cool. I wanted to, you know, show the cool Dobinson's reservoir, but now I'm just showing half the Dobinson's reservoir since the other half is rubbed off by tires. But you get the point. In the rear, every single OEM link was actually replaced with Dobinson's links. So in the rear, on their MRR for the GX470, you have the option of their long travel shock. So this gives me a hair over 12 inches of usable travel. What's cool about that is if you were running OEM links, you would actually get bound up. The gas tank sits right here behind the axle. So that upper control arm on the OEM is a straight, really, really, really skinny control arm. It actually comes in contact with the fuel tank. So what's cool is that if you run the Dobinson's link, they actually have a bend in their upper control arm that bends around the fuel tank. So I get the full 12 and some change inches of travel in the rear here with zero binding, zero issues. It's amazing. It's really, really incredible what Dobinson's was able to accomplish with the stock geometry. So yeah, there's a ton of travel back here, and it does a great job. I also have, in the OEM location, I have the Perry Parts bump stop. And then in the coil pack, I switched to coils. I forgot these things come airbagged. I did switch to the coil. These are the 749, the heavy rate, the super heavy progressive springs here in the rear. They're like this big. They're ginormous. But that's what's in the rear here, so this thing does feel pretty decent in the back. And then also in that coil pack, I have another Dobinson's hydraulic bump stop. So hydraulic bump stops front and rear, and then in the rear I also have the Perry Parts in the OEM location, just for a supplementary bump stop. All right, let's move our way over here. So you can actually, this is actually my favorite angle of this bumper, but this is the Coast Off-Road Extreme High Clearance rear bumper. I had the rear bumper on this truck 4 years ago, and I loved it, and I just kept it on, and we recently just switched it out. But the regular high clearance bumper that they make is already super high clearance. But with the addition of the sliders, I wanted to just change the rear and just see what their new bumper looked like. And this is their brand new bumper, their extreme high clearance. So as you can see here, here's my body mount. The rear body mount frame is the lowest part on this bumper now. So what actually has to happen to get this done is you actually chop this rear cross member. If you want to see the video, we actually filmed a video doing this. But you chop the rear cross member and replace it with the bumper. So this thing sits really, really high. Let's go to the back and I'll show you the swing outs and what that looks like. All right, so I kept the swing outs actually for my old bumper, which is really cool. If you're in the coastal off-road ecosystem, you can kind of just swap things out. So this is the same swing outs I had on the other one. I just changed kind of what's on here. Obviously, this is the same tire as the other four of them. Sitting on the back here, it has no issues holding the 35. On Instagram, actually, they just commented some guy runs 40s on these things on the same bumper for a Dodge Ram, I think, and no issue. So I've had no issue with this on the trail. This thing doesn't move. I haven't had anything break on it. I did kind of weld this one on sideways, so it's a little crooked, and sometimes it gets bound up when I go to unlock it, but other than that, it's perfect. We decided to mount the Pro Eagle here. It was a last-minute decision. Actually, the camera guy right now is Jaden, and it was a last-minute decision between me and Jaden. Originally, I had some water tanks on here that was hooked up to a pump, and I had some Pelicans on the back that had held the pump and held the hose. It was really, really neat. I love that system. However, with this one, you're sitting, not only is the bumper tucked up way higher, it's also tucked way more back. So I'm only about an inch or so from this rear tailgate. So that means I couldn't mount anything behind it like I had originally planned on it. So I had to last minute pivot. The water tanks I had holes in it for the pump, for the plumbing and everything, so I couldn't just run those, or I could, but it would look weird. So I decided last minute, I had this Pro Eagle, I had the Pro Eagle mount. I was like, you know what, let's just put the Pro Eagle back here. And I'm going to be honest with you, I love the look, and also I love the utility. They do have a bag for the whole thing. I haven't been running it, but honestly for this trail, it was very silty, so I probably should be running it. This thing has come in handy, I'll be honest with you, way too often. It's been kind of, I feel like it's almost a bad omen the second you put some usable tools in your truck, you're gonna use them. But yeah, this thing has been amazing. Changing a flat with this versus like a high lift is, first off, just not as life-threatening, and it's just a lot easier. This jack was made for mechanic work and changing things and fixing things, and you can tell. The high lift is great when you get stuck, but it does feel very sketchy working under one. So, but yeah, this is the rear setup. My license plate is held on by magnets because I haven't really figured out a great solution for putting the license plate anywhere. However, I do actually like it. I do like where it hangs. If it gets hit by a rock, it just kind of falls off, which is fine. So yeah, this is the rear bumper. So now what we're gonna go ahead and do is we're gonna talk about the roof rack, talk about some of the lights on top, and then we're gonna talk about the inside of the truck. All right, so now we get to the meaty stuff, the stuff I'm really excited about. We are just launching the Platform 1 roof rack. It's actually launching July 15th, if you're watching this video a little bit early. This is it. This is the Platform 1 roof rack. I'm really, really excited about it. Up top, we have the Titan light bar. This is the 50-inch, so this is an 8 light. Moving our way along the side. This roof rack does have the option to run the brand new profile lights. These are the sidecast. These are gonna be integrated flush-mounted lights into the roof rack. When you turn these on, the shadow actually hits right here, or the light hits right here, creating a shadow that's right here. So it's facing down. It's an amazing camp light, which is what it was designed for. And it also has dual mode. So it has full power white and then full power amber. So if you're at night, like last night, I don't know if you can hear any of the bugs, but there was a ton of bugs everywhere. The amber helped keep the bugs away, which is really, really, really neat. And it's just a bit easier on the eyes. It's not so bright. The white is still a very bright light, and so the amber mixed with a campfire or anything, it's a really nice touch. So that's really it for lighting on the side. So we're gonna go ahead and move to the rear and talk a little bit about the lighting in the rear. For the rear lighting, this is kind of cool. We have the chase bar on our brand new chase bracket. That thing is so sweet. You can actually mount it underneath the rack or on the end of the rack like that and kind of extend the rack out a little bit. I think every vehicle, every off-road vehicle should have not necessarily a chase bar, but some sort of reverse amber lights. Okay, up top we have some Flex Era 1s. These are actually kicked to the side, again using our new brackets made to mount underneath the rack. So these are kicked outwards and to the side. The chase bar has a ton of functions, so I actually have a button that turns on the center dual white and the outers. It just gives me a ton of light back here. I call it the cargo one, so if I'm ever out here doing anything that I need light, it's all shining back here. Something I totally forgot to talk about because I always forget about it is actually on the bumper, underneath the bumper, I have some Flex Air 1s wired to my reverse lights. They are pointed straight down and they're low enough to the point where they're never blinding anybody when I'm reversing in like a grocery store. But they shine right here behind that rear tire because right now I don't have any OEM reverse lights, just the single chase bar light that shows up to indicate, but no real light. So those Flex Air 1s are a lifesaver. So when I actually flick that switch on to turn on those white lights, these ones also turn on. So it's a ton of white light just faced right backwards, covering up the rear of camp or whatever else I'm doing back here. All right, so let's start talking about what's on the roof rack. What we're gonna do is we're gonna start from each side and talk about, because I have it kind of split down the middle, and we'll talk about what's on each side. So let's start on this side. Starting on this side of the roof rack, also, just I'm looking at some stuff here. Keep in mind, this is a prototype, so none of the accessories on this rack are final. They're all coated with alloy armor. None of them are powder coated. It was all super last minute, so just keep that in mind. I'm looking at my KC logo here, my little rusted bolts, and my and the paint chipping off. Just note that's because these are prototype. I don't have the finished powder coated or the finished hardware just yet. Same with everything else. So let's kind of talk about what's on the side of this and then what's on top. So we have a few of the accessories. So we're making a ton of accessories that are going to go with the roof rack. The ones you can see here are the two grab handles, and then the one back here is actually going to be the awning tie down mount. So when you have a 270 awning, you need somewhere to tie it down. You can actually tie it down to the side of this, or you can use the dedicated awning mount. So I've been using that a ton for the awning we'll talk about in a little bit, but it's been super handy. It's worked great. So that's two of the accessories we're offering for the roof rack. Up top, So up top we have the Zargus cases. This is a brand that I'm very, very familiar with, but I've never actually used before. And we decided to run the Zargus cases just kind of show off some options and things you could do with the roof rack. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm just so blown away. They are just incredible quality. This is actually their wrap kit, so you can wrap them black, but they normally come with that aluminum color. So this is a satin or matte black, and I just think they look amazing, but they work really well. The mounting solution wasn't very great. It's basically just some bolts going through it. And so there's nothing sealed on there, but still, even after this trail, after the storms we've been having, I have my blanket and my pillow in there for tent or for the camp. And they were completely dry, completely clean, even after all the silt we experienced yesterday, which my entire cabin is filled with dust, and somehow those have zero dust in them. Overall, I think they're worth every penny. They blow out most of the cases that I've tried just out of the water. So really, really stoked on those. Okay, so now let's move to the other side and talk about what's on the roof rack on the other side. On this side, obviously you can tell I have an awning right here. This is from Free Spirit Recreation. This is their 270 awning, their V2, I believe. This thing is incredible. I've used quite a bit of awnings in my life, and most of the 270 awnings have actually two poles that come out. They do normally offer just a little bit more coverage up front, but what that means is breaking up and setting up is always kind of just more of a pain. This one only has a single arm in the back, so you just fold this thing all the way out. It is incredibly light. Jaden actually just picked this thing right up, and we were able to bolt it up. I remember my last 270 awning was a 3-man job for sure. It was super heavy. This one's not very heavy at all, which I also feel way safer, just not having the heaviest thing in the world on the roof hanging off the edge. So this is the awning. Just overall, just super stoked on it. And then sitting on the actual tracks, we have a couple things. We have our the KC solar charge hub. So the solar charge hub is actually not hooked into the solar panels that we're going to talk about. I actually keep that separate, hooked up to the starter battery, and I keep the SAE port open. So whenever I'm camping or traveling or something and I'm worried about the starter battery, I'll actually set up the portable solar panel and just throw it on the windshield or throw it wherever I need to. And I'll use the solar charge hub to actually make sure that the starter battery is topped off. The auxiliary batteries and secondary batteries have their own MPPT system, so I don't have to worry about anything up top, but I use the solar charge hub for the starter battery. And then behind the solar charge hub, I actually have 3 of the Sunflare blocks panels. So we made custom bracketry for this roof rack to be able to mount them in a series, and I have 3 of them. They're great. They work. It's a funny thing to think about how much technology has progressed in the area of solar panels. I remember back in the day, if you had a whole solar panel and you had a tiny little bag on it or a tiny little piece of dirt on it, the entire panel became useless. When I am camping, I have this big, huge, the FSR hub. It's a huge bag that rolls up. I actually store it on top of the solar panels. I used our tie-down points mounted into the brackets that hold down the solar panel, and I have the whole thing mounted to the top, so it blocks 90% of the solar panels. What's crazy about that is at high noon, I still will get some solar in, even though 90% of the panels are blocked by a huge black bag. I still get some solar in there, so it's really, really cool to see just how efficient these things are. Overall, super impressed. I've had a few different solar panels in the truck, and these ones have probably been the most efficient. Very impressed with them. But that really covers it. So I have the Zargus cases on the side, and then the solar panels on the inside, and then the awning on the outside. Oh, something I forgot to mention. One last thing. I also have the Rugged Radios GMRS antenna mounted up here front using our the antenna bracket we have for the Platform 1. This is it. This is really all we have running on this Platform 1. We have it jam-packed with all the goodies just to make sure and test it. We've been running this rack for about 2.5 months now on honestly some way harder trails than I'd like to admit and some long road trips, and it's been amazing. I have more tire noise than I do wind noise up top. I don't hear anything. I don't notice a big difference. I've had 3 different roof racks in this vehicle, and so far this one hasn't made any noise. There's no whistling. Even with all the accessories on here, I was kind of worried the antenna would make some noise, but zero noise, and it sits pretty low profile. I'm able to fit in I don't know, a couple garages I've been in, which is pretty cool. I fit in my garage at my house, and so can't ask for anything better. So that's the roof rack. Okay, So that's everything up top. Let's talk about some of the goodies inside. We're gonna start in the front and then move our way to the back where we'll talk about the drawer system. All right, so we are in the front seat in the front area here, and there's a few goodies I want to talk about. So we'll start up top, move over to the bottom. So up top, we have the Ohana Rig Supply Captain's Panel. This is a super handy thing to have up top. It's actually steel too, so it's magnetic. So I'm able to throw magnetic things up there. This is where I hold some of my handheld radios from Rugged, and some bags as well to hold some more Rugged stuff. For switch systems, I do use the aux beam just because they're super price effective right now, and I'm kind of waiting. I'm kind of holding off on a certain switch panel that I really want, but I'm not going to talk about right now. So up top, we have one of the aux beams. This aux beam is an 8-gang. It's actually hooked into the starter battery, so this powers all of my bright lights, like the Flex Air 4s, the Titans, all of the ones I'm going to use while driving. And then if you go down here, I have the Wolfbox rear view camera. This is like the G900, I think. I can't see out of the back of the truck, so I obviously ditched the standard windshield or the standard rear view mirror and went to the rear view camera mirror thing / dash cam. Overall, super stoked on this thing. Moving our way down, we have the Expedition Essentials, the GX PAM. This thing is a powered unit, so I actually do have a Peak Design. I do have a Peak Design little charger here for my phone, and this thing is amazing. We were getting pretty rowdy yesterday, and this thing was on here the entire time, didn't budge, didn't move, and it comes off that easy. And it also charges your phone, which is super handy, using the GX PAM as the USB-C inputs. And then on this side, I have a RAM ball mounted to the Scosche mounter for the Rugged Radios radio heads. Okay, now moving our way all the way down, we'll start on this side. We have the Rugged radio. This is the G1. This is their flagship GMRS radio. They do have now the Rambler G4, which is a really cool one. We actually have it in our Raptor, but that's the one I have here. I really love this radio. I have zero issues with it. It works every single time, and it hooks up to the antenna up top, and it gets some good distance, zero issues with it. Okay, so if you notice, I have, this is a 2005 Lexus. The technology was a little outdated, so I don't have Bluetooth or anything on this thing, so I actually use an FM transceiver, which is funny because I remember my mom had one of those in her, like, you know, early Tacomas when I was a kid, and now I have one because I have the same year vehicle. And then next to it, we have a ginormous, this is the 12-gang aux beam switch. It's huge. I made a custom bracket to kind of fit right here. This is where the ashtray normally is. I don't smoke, so this is perfect for me. It's just a huge thing, so I wanted to put it as low as possible. All of these are actually directly connected to the second battery. So these are all able to be powered without the truck being on. I don't have to worry about the truck dying or not starting. That's why I have it mounted like this. That's why it's two separate switches. And then underneath here, I have the Rugged Radios M1. So since this is kind of the KC Media vehicle, often I'm behind razors, race trucks, or whatever that are using the different frequencies. So the business band frequency, I like to call them race radios. The race radio frequency is normally used in your side-by-sides, in your race trucks, and some people run them in Raptors. So I just like making sure I have all forms of communication that I normally handle. The only thing I don't have in here is CB radio, but I haven't ran into a guy running CB radio in quite some time. So I have that one mounted down here. Since I don't use this one as much, I actually don't keep the handheld always connected to it. So I keep that in the bag up top. That's the front of this. There's nothing else that crazy. So we're gonna go ahead and jump to the rear and talk about the drawer system. We are now in the rear. Right now I am having some weird battery issues, so some things are disconnected. So I don't actually have full power back here. So we're not gonna turn anything on for you guys. All of this is on. We're not gonna turn anything on for you guys. So in the rear here, I have these custom drawers that I made. I made this specifically for this new redesign, and we were running some prototype batteries, which prototype being the key point to it, which is why I need to figure out my battery issues. But I built all of these around the battery system. So if you want to see how I built this thing, I actually did make another video, the same video we talked about the Coastal Off-Road rear bumper. So I'll link that one down below so you guys can go watch that if you want. It's a long one, but it's a full process of how we got to this stage. But I have the rear drawer system, so they're just two drawers. This one's a little shorter than this one, just due to the fact of the batteries are sitting behind this drawer. Up top here, it's kind of a mess because, again, we're camping, we're filming, we're just doing a lot of stuff. Things are everywhere. But this is just a standard platform, so this is where I usually throw the pelicans, the camera bags. I have a leaf blower that's out right now because we were fighting spiders last night, and they looked like they had the egg sacs on them, so we didn't want to just squash them, so we actually just blew them down the cliff so they wouldn't come, you know, lay eggs in our mouth or whatever they do. So yeah, that's out right now, but normally that's tucked in back there. We got some cereal over there. Just some random stuff kind of hanging everywhere. And then kind of my favorite part of this thing is we have the big, huge Iceco, the AP 55. This is a 55 quart fridge. This thing is ginormous. Right now it is off because I'm dealing with some battery issues. It's sitting on top of the DFG fridge slide. So I don't know if you can tell from the video or from any other videos, but I'm not a very tall person. In fact, I'm actually kind of short. So your standard fridge slide that slides straight out sounds really cool, but in practice for me, it's pretty useless. I can't see anything, so I'm always kind of digging blind. So what I could have done is I could have deleted this entire drawer and just had it on the ground, and then it slides straight out, but then I lose a drawer. So what I love utilizing is the tilt fridges. So pull this out real quick. So how this works is it actually goes out and then down, just like this. It is still heavy, so I try to make sure I carry it down. I don't want this thing to rip the whole drawer out, but yeah, this is the fridge. Again, it's off right now for unfortunate reasons, but yeah, we have all of our drinks in there. It's still ice cold, which is amazing. This thing is double insulated. It's really, really thick. So even when the power goes out, your stuff still stays cold, which is cool. It also has soft close, which is for sure not needed, but it's a nice touch. There's also a ton of tie down points everywhere in case you wanted to get real crazy and tie down some stuff on top of the fridge. Also, if you can't notice, this is a custom wrap on it. So the guys over at Iceco did a custom KC wrap. This thing is really cool. I'm just a huge sucker for it. I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's really nice to be able to go get groceries, throw them in here, and not have to worry about you know, all the ice cream I'm buying melting. So let's get this thing up. All right, so the last of the goodies I want to show off is this door. I've had this door pretty much since I've had the truck. This is one of the first things we put on this thing, we built for this thing. It's changed a little bit over the years, but for the most part, it's the same drawer. So, or the same door. So yeah, there's a bunch of stickers on here just from years and years ago, and some new ones, and yep, some cool stuff on here. So it's all held together by this, just like this. Folds down right here. It's old. It's kind of dirty. It probably needs to be treated again, but this thing works great. I've changed diapers up here. I've swapped lenses up here. This has been a really, really trusty table. It's actually mounted to the metal door. It's not actually mounted at all to this, except for on the piano hinge, which there's no actual lateral force on that, so it's fine. So this thing is actually really stout. It has a little bit of flex to it, but that's just because of the panel. It's really, really, really strong. I've actually put way more heavier things than I should have on this, and it didn't even budge. So that's that. Up top here, we have a little USB-C and USB port up here. One of these is to charge the rugged radio that I usually have right here in this Expedition Essentials mount. And then also I have on the Ramble MagSafe, so I can charge a camera up here or even mount it. A lot of the times I'm back here working whenever I'm traveling, and so I use this as kind of a secondary place to put my phone, or if I'm FaceTiming the family, I can throw it up there while I'm doing stuff back here. And it's just a great place to put your phone and charge it and all that good stuff. I also have a paper towel holder here that's comes in handy way too often, having a toddler. And then I have these cyclones up here too. So these are all on a 3-position switch. Let's see if they turn on with the battery issues. Nope, they're not going to turn on, but I have they're mounted on a 3-position switch, so I have white cyclones up top and red cyclones. So last night, again, fighting all the bugs. But yeah, so sorry, this thing's beeping behind me, but yeah, with the red one and the white one up here, I use the red one a ton for camping or anytime there are bugs around, and then the white one obviously for every other scenario. So yeah, that's the rear system. I guess have the drawer shelf up there. I kind of forget about that thing. It just basically holds camp chairs and my sleeping bags. But that's the rear system. So that's pretty much the entire truck. I don't think I have anything else to show you guys. So thank you guys so much for watching. I appreciate you watching this video. If you have any questions about my truck, about anything KC related, leave them down in the comments below. If you're curious what that beeping is, me too. All right, catch you guys in the next one.